All right, folks, we just got back from our first expedition of 2025 out to our main research area, which we call the Happy Place. We call it that because a team member of ours that brought us out there for the first time, he had an incident when he was 19 years old. Happy Harris was hunting. He was deer hunting. He found a makeshift blind made out of limbs that he thought humans made. He went and got in that blind. He was there for 20 or 30 minutes. Two of these things came up behind him and growled at him. It scared him so bad he passed out. He woke up 30 minutes later sitting in the front seat of his truck, has no idea how he got there. Now, initially, when we first went out there, we only went out there just to film exactly what had happened and to get his story on video. We wound up finding physical evidence. And then that night, we recorded a very close, very obvious vocalizations. It's like 3 of them that are together. Actually, it's like 6 of them. Very obvious Sasquatch vocalizations. Not obvious when we were there. It was almost like sounded like a wolf. But when I got it home, it was very obvious that they were Sasquatch. Not to mention the fact we had a rock thrown at my vehicle about 40 minutes later. They were stomping around in the wood line and then grunting, actually responded vocally to Happy Harris turning on his flashlight. So the very first trip out there was completely vindicated Happy Harris. Our third trip out there was much more. Me, Scott DeForest, and Captain Joe Cayley, all 3 of us saw 2 different Sasquatch about 45 minutes apart. And that day changed my life forever and sent me down this road of trying to prove these things exist. We've all been going out there ever since 2022. I've gone out there several times by myself. I've had a few different things happen. Wood knocks, very close wood knocks, objects thrown. We've had a few things happen when other people are there, like my vehicle being slapped. And we recorded vocalizations when there was movement in the woods during the daytime, which is actually one of the only times that another teammate, Hank Rosser, said that he felt like there was something out there. Other people have experienced absolutely nothing. So we've got a big range of people who've experienced anywhere from the Class A sightings from 50 feet away, which is me, and then other people who have not experienced anything at all. And we've had some changes when it comes to our activity. We've started hog hunting out there. We went the first couple of years not doing that. But the hog population is it's huge now. There's a lot of big ones out there. The property owner wants them gone, and that's just part of it. It's the least we could do for being able to go out to the property. And I'm very torn on it myself. Ideally, when you do Sasquatch research, when we had our sightings, I had a pistol on my hip. I've had incidents here on my own property where I had a pistol on me and it didn't matter. They still approached and growled at me, got within 30 feet of me. But when it comes to long guns, it's probably not the best idea in the world, but the fact of the matter is it's going to happen. So this trip, I've really had to think about, kind of come up with a plan, because we're going to be hunting. There's no way around that, really. And we're all hunters, so we don't all have a lot of, spare time to do the things we enjoy. So hopefully we can incorporate the 2 things and still be successful. But I think what we're going to have to do is, when we're not hunting, make a big deal of putting the firearms up. And I'm thinking if the other guys agree to it, we can set up like our fire ring with our chairs and stuff away from all the other electronics, equipment, rifles, you name it, and just be human beings sitting on their butts around a campfire at night. Hopefully, making the Sasquatch, if they are there, making them feel like it's okay to approach, or at least try to get away with something. So we're still kind of working on that. We actually thought we walked away completely empty-handed. There was a hurricane, all of y'all know, Georgia and the Carolinas were hit really bad last year by a hurricane. and it devastated the area. It's blown a bunch of trees down across the creek. It's made it very hard to move around. The creek area is a really good spot to try to find evidence, and it is now very hard to maneuver around that creek area. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But the fact of the matter is, I do believe they were there, and we did not know that because there was absolutely no activity. We didn't find much of anything. I found one strange thing, which you guys will see in the video. It's these very specific breaks that were actually leaning the opposite direction of all the high winds. No way to know whether they did it or not, but it was the only thing I found that was interesting. But on the last night we were there, I was in camp by myself. I thought I was by myself. What I think happened was I was in camp getting ready to leave again at night. And while I was there, there was something in the wood line. And I didn't know it. I leave, and moments after I leave, something, either a human or a Sasquatch, I believe, judging based upon the audio, came into camp, was messing around with stuff, took a stick and went on stuff. Right when the audio picks up Loyd's truck coming down the road, getting closer to the camp, it starts moving quicker. It's bipedal steps. It's very obvious. And when it leaves camp, it makes two very obvious, very loud braking noises. I think they were there. Now, there's no way to prove that with just audio. But I do think it was them. And you'll have to be the judge, you know. But it's a good reminder when you're doing this. Number one, you got to be ready at all times. I try to be at least recording audio at all times, and thank God I still have a bunch of audio from the parabolic to go over. Now, I know it did not pick that up as good as the GoPro did that was actually in camp, because it was up high and facing the complete opposite direction. So luckily I was recording and we captured that. And the most important thing is, until they let you know they're there, you're not gonna know. And it's just the way it's always been. And we just have to realize that just because it doesn't feel like there's something there, or we don't find something, or, you know, it's either feast or famine with these things. I've had the Class A sightings all the way down to trip after trip after trip of absolutely nothing. And that's what every bit of this is about. It takes consistency and patience. And it's just a good reminder of that. And, you know, we're excited to get back out there. So we're going to start out with my first night coming in. Pay attention on the drive in, just how rural the property is. First, you're going to see it about 25 minutes out, and then about 8 minutes out. Nothing but farmland. A few houses and trailers dotted around woodland areas and fields and farms. And the people that live in those areas actually work the fields. Super rural. You're going to see thermal video of the hogs. You're going to see actual video of the hogs. Me setting up in the pipeline, stuff like that. The next day, we're walking around the property, checking out the devastation, looking for evidence. And then when we get to the point to where I think they walked into camp, I'm going to go to the whiteboard and try to explain exactly how everything was set up and what exactly happened when I believe a Sasquatch walked into our camp. So enjoy. I'll see y'all later. About 8 minutes from my destination, from our main research area. And really this starts about 25 to 30 minutes out. It's nothing but farmland and woods for miles and miles, dotted with a few houses, a few trailers. But to have these creatures actually come through one specific area out here is kind of a miracle. Alright, so this is very interesting. Look at all these. You had this tree that fell here, obviously. But then you've got these look, they all been individually broken off. One's broken off there. One's broken there. I don't exactly know where that big one came from, unless it was like in the middle here. Huh. That's kind of neat. I was gonna burn it. I was gonna use this for firewood, but I don't think I'm going to now. No idea what's going on with it. On the dirt road, there's like 5 hogs that cross right in front of me. The sky is absolutely beautiful out here tonight. Where you going, bud? So that is the hill that Captain Joe saw it walk behind that day. Right around there. And he was back that way.
Interesting area that you guys had. I remember it was so much right around here. It's mostly all swamp back there. It's all full of water. You can't get to the creek.
This is where we had the sightings at. In fact, Captain Joe was right around here and walked behind that mound of dirt right there. Walked in front of it, or behind it. I was over there looking that way when I saw mine. When I took that video, I was back there and it was somewhere in here.
one where you got the.
You just the one, yeah.
So it was on this side, right?
Yeah, it was over there.
And then the one y'all seen later come out from the other side?
No, from same side, over here.
Down there by the creek.
Probably,
Probably boneyard, right?
maybe, yeah, somewhere around there. Because we were back where the feeder was. And it ran straight across. And then hit that wood line and turned and went that way. One of the last times I came out here by myself, pretty sure I had something thrown at me or thrown behind me. And this is the area, and I'm gonna find that footage. Let you guys see how much it's changed. The damage this hurricane did. I mean, this is nuts. You can't even really get to the creek. Just like this all up and down the creek. It's a shame too. Man, that's sad. It was like a little island right there that tree was in the middle of. Just completely uprooted. I think I was right over there. I had the object thrown. Tell me that didn't sound like a rock. All right, you guys won't be able to see me, but that's not important. What is important is this whiteboard and the history of the property. This is the creek that runs the length of the property. It goes across the pipeline. This is the long pipeline clearing. That's a deer stand. These are shooting lanes that are cut, that are planted during hunting season. Wood line over here, wood line over here. Got another creek here with a little bit of a swamp in this area. Now, the history of things. Right around here is where we were at the night that we had the rock thrown and got the really good vocalizations, which is around the same area where Happy Harris had his stuff happen when he was 19. Back over here in this wood line, past the firing lanes, is where me and Captain Joe, I saw mine here. Captain Joe saw his about here. 45 minutes later, or actually even before that, Scott was here on that trip, and he watched as a Sasquatch came out on all fours doing the spider crawl, button hooked, and went back in there. Okay, 45 minutes later, around the same general area, one runs across the field, almost hits that wood line, turns this way, goes back in the woods. Okay, so that's the history of everything. Well, for the past, I don't even know, 2 years, 2025 to 22 is 3 years. So for almost 2 years, we lost access to this except by walking. We were having to come in on this other side and camp over here and then cross on foot. And we haven't had much happen except get some. We had a guy named Hatch that was with us that got a thermal of something weird here one time in a wood line up here. We got some vocals over here, stuff like that. But so that's kind of the history of the activity. There's a few more things, but it's not important. What you saw is me coming in on this road that we finally got access to again, crossing the creek, coming in, setting up right here on the pipeline. The thermal, I had the thermal right here. You saw wildlife that direction and me standing here doing a live. I had it set up there so I could watch this big, huge field. I could look down the road that way, down the road that way, and down the pipeline. Okay. Now, this right here is actually where I found those stumps that were kind of pulled over that looked kind of weird. I don't know if that was anything or not. It's just something interesting I found the next day when everybody was there. We actually camped right here in the shooting lanes. Hank's truck, my vehicle, Loyd's vehicle. We walked around here during the day. That's where I showed you all the destruction around the creeks and all that stuff and went over the sightings. That evening, we left, came out this way, left the property, went all the way around, came back in on the other side, and Loyd and Hank went hunting. Loyd went that way. Hank set up like right here. I left, walked across the creek, came back to camp, got in my vehicle, left, went into town, got McDonald's, and came back, okay? Well, that's what's important, is when I left, I left the GoPro sitting right here in our camp. So I leave, and you're about to see video. First, we'll start out from where the GoPro is. You'll see the view. Then you'll see my headlights as I come back and park. I finish eating, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I leave and walk on foot. Walk this way, walk the pipeline, and about that same time, Hank and Loyd are coming back this direction. You can hear them cross the creek in the video, and I meet them right here. So what seems to have happened is when I came back the second time and ate my McDonald's and got ready, I think they were somewhere in these wood lines here. Because only a minute or so after I leave, you will hear the sounds of something coming in, making its way in. It gets very obvious. It like hits a couple things that sound plastic. Then there's like these obvious knocking noises with sticks. It's like it picked up a stick and went tick, 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 like that. The audio starts to pick up Loyd's truck coming back. It starts to walk, very obvious bipedal steps, walking out of camp. It gets out of camp and makes two very obvious, very loud breaks. So let's go check all that out.
This is nuts. They're all messed up.
All right, so I've come back from camp, got my stuff together. I've walked out to the pipeline. And this is what's going on back at camp. Now this next bit right here, I've amplified this because it sounds like there is a breath, like something breathing, like a especially that right there. Slowly walking in. Now this part right here is very interesting. Sounds to me like it picks up a stick. It starts tapping on something, the ground maybe. That is not an animal, folks. Just hit something plastic. Does that a couple times. And this part's strange because it's very light. The steps, it almost makes me think it's something else further away that's stepping. There's no way to know. So that was another, it touches something else, plastic box of some sort. There's a bunch of plastic everywhere. What you're hearing is you start to hear Loyd's truck in the background, and then that's when the steps pick up, like it's getting out of camp. About to hear Loyd's. That is Loyd crossing the creek. That's his truck hitting that creek right there. some stuff.
So I measured the distance. The camera's right here. When Loyd hits the creek, I'm like right in here. I just went in this wood line. And then when I realize he's coming back, I come back out of the wood line, walk over here, and meet him. Both of them as they drive up. Hank gets out and he sees something on thermal over here. From here to here, that's 121 yards. Deer nor hog act like they've got to get out of a camp because a vehicle is over probably 200 yards away. And that's when it starts running off. The loud braking noises sounds 100% intentional. The tapping sound sounds like it's very close to the GoPro, and that GoPro is sitting up on a battery bank that's sitting on top of a table. Was it specifically testing that GoPro out for whatever reason because it saw me put it up there? No idea. But to me, none of that sounds like the actions of an animal. So the only two options for me in this are human. Was there a random human way out there in the middle of nowhere? And see, here's the other thing. After I leave, there's silence for just a few minutes, and then you hear it walk up. There is no... If it was an animal, you would hear it coming from a lot further away, you would think. But there's this gradual approach, and then a stop, and then some messing around. Another obvious gradual approach. And it sounds like it's very close to the camera, and it's hitting on maybe plastic. That battery bank is plastic itself. Unfortunately, it's dark, so the GoPro can't see anything. But I'm convinced it's them.